up into St James's, and my hands, everything, my whole body just lit up. I've got goosebumps all over my...
I get those goosebumps. I get those goosebumps every time I'm around you. Lose my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those times, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that.
That was a right one, man. Jeez. We got right into it.
Better going.
Oh. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are back again for a fully loaded transfer show, a Paul Mitchell special. And we're going to get into our new sporting director very, very shortly. But yeah, Daz, how are you on this fine Thursday evening? Yeah, not a show that we planned, but yeah, it's a very interesting one, to say the least.
Very interesting one. Yeah, great news this morning. How am I first? Yeah, all good. Thursday evening onto Friday and then onto the weekend. So yeah, all good with me, Pete. We're gonna miss Chris tonight. No, Chris. Chris is traveling back from for work. But you'll have to make do with us. But how are you, Pete?
Not too bad. Busy as always. Rushed back after work tonight. Last additional work meeting, parents' evening, whatever you want to call it, for the year. So all done and dusted, and now ready to see out towards the summer. So can't complain, and not gonna complain at all, because we got some brilliant news that creeped in today that certainly got us kind of with a spring in our step. I'm not gonna lie, but before that, welcome everyone that's joined us. Welcome everyone live, and welcome everyone smashing in their tunes. So many of them. Let's work through them right now. Welcome Stevie, great to have you in there. Nathan, great stuff, well in there straight away. Alan, great to have you in there as well as Rich with his tune. Kieran in there early doors.
Kieran, actually, I'll stop on Kieran for a second. Kieran put the link to the show in the Irish Mags chat. So thanks for that, Kieran. Thanks. I don't like dropping it in. That sometimes it's like, just the lads can find us if they want. But thanks for doing it anyway, Kieran. Yeah, much appreciated.
Yeah, top man. Always appreciate the support. That's for sure. Will, great to have you in. With his tune, and of course our resident spanner Lisa in the house as ever, along with Dave. Great to have you tunes in there. Connie is coming through thick and fast, as well as Dean. I don't know if I can keep up with all of these. David, great to have you in there. Shimmer, I speak to Shimmer the other night on socials. Great to have Shimmer in the chat as well. John, brilliant stuff. I'm going to whip through these. Nobby Clark.
It's a tune special.
I know, this is the tune special. Learington, great stuff, because Learington normally asks, is there a show popping? There definitely is right now. James is in the house. Great to have you, James, as well as Mansell. James is buzzing. He's put it in twice. Love it. As well as Travis, Darren. Great to have you, Darren. Mike, and Sam Kennedy as well. Brilliant with all your tunes. Make sure you're getting them in. It is picking up. We are getting more and more tunes as we go along with each show. And look,
how'd you like that? Good night, everyone. No.
No. We've got more to go. We've still got O'Toon Tunes. Bill Ashby says, "Evening, O'Toon Tune. I'm a happy man today." And I said it back when when the whole Ashworth gardening leave saga began, that my first choice to replace him was Paul Mitchell. And to add to that,
Bill.
what is also mentioned 100%. We've pulled Man United's pants down with the Ratworth deal. I like that, Ratworth and Eddie didn't get along. We made a profit on that, and we got a better sporting director in that Man United wanted first. So does the big news, as everyone's been talking about, and it was a surprise. I'm not going to lie. Paul Mitchell signs for Newcastle United. Blew everybody out the water this morning. Nobody expected it. Sporting director signed for Newcastle United. And you can see some of the comments here from the club as well as Paul Mitchell. And he says he's accepted the responsibility of being Newcastle United sporting director. I've seen the recent growth and ambition of the club. This plus the amazing fan base made the decision to join an easy one. I can't wait to get started and help continue the organization's growth and long-term competitiveness in all areas of elite football performance. Darren Eales has some comments on this as well. He's obviously delighted that Paul's in. He says he brings a successful track record and wealth of experience to the club. His extensive, diverse experience in football leadership, cultural change, and recruitment means he is an ideal person to lead our sporting directorate. So we look forward to working with Paul and supporting him in a pursuit of long-term sustainable success. Daz, what do you make of the news of Paul Mitchell becoming our sporting director, mate?
Brilliant news. There was so many options we talked about early on, and then there was the whole saga with the Dan Ashworth. But let's start with Dan Ashworth first, and not for too long. But Dan Ashworth came in. He did a job for us, and I know you can. It's very easy to put the boot in him now, but he did a job for us. He was a kind of a process-driven, getting things set up from scratch kind of an appointment, and he did that up until a point, until he started sending emails to Man United and doing other things, and sat in his hands. He's gone. Forget about him. Let's not talk about it again. Paul Mitchell is a different type of a character. He seems to be kind of a recruitment specialist. No, but he's kind of multifaceted as well. He's got he can do a number of different things. So whereas I'd say he's a different type of signing acquisition than Dan Ashworth. And I'm just looking at a few videos on him and just reading a bit about him as well. You can go through the long list of signings he made for the various different clubs. But I'm on his LinkedIn page here at the moment. So after he retired from football, he was head of recruitment of NK Dons for 4 years. He's director of recruitment and scouting department for 3 years at Southampton. He went on then to Spurs, where he was head of recruitment and analysis. He was there for just over 3 years. I think he had some kind of falling out with Daniel Levy. I'm sure a lot of people do that. Then he went on to Leipzig, RB Leipzig, and he was there for 2.5 years before then he went on to a promotion into kind of he was head of recruitment and development, and then he went on to a technical director at Red Bull International Soccer. So that's for a further 10 months. So altogether about 3.5 years in the Red Bull arena. And then after that, he went on to Monaco and was there for over 4 years at Monaco. But like it just again, some of the videos in Monaco, he brought the average age down of the players in the squad. He actually reduced down the use a number of players, and he reduced the number of players down that they used from season to season as well, from like 30 something to 27, and that was the focus. What else let's pick up about him? He comes across really well. He can speak well. He's obviously now knowledge of Europe, international to some degree, and Premier League from his time. He did like for me, the standout is Southampton. You remember they were the model of bringing in players and selling them on again, like those a number of them. And then they did really well. I'll throw out a few names of players. People have seen them today anyway, but like Sadio Mane, Son from Spurs, Dele Alli, bringing them from the MK Dons connection. So he makes use of his connections that he already has. Christopher Nkunku, Trips, of course. Yeah, he brought Trips to Spurs. Toby Alderweireld, the Belgian lad. I can never pronounce his name right, but he used to be really class.
Alderweireld. Yep, you're right.
Tadic is another one. I still like him, but I know he went back to Ajax after that. But Dani Olmo, who's doing well for Spain at the moment, and there's Axel Disasi and a few more. But there's a long list of. I'm sure there's a list of players that didn't work out as well, but he's got a good track record. It was to touch on what does he say? I'm reading from the LinkedIn page. What does he say about himself? Right? He goes, I'm a professional and committed person who will strive to do my best in every role I undertake. I am passionate about football as a sport and how recruitment and player development has impacted on the industry. This passion is reflected in my work and success to date. The last 16 years have enabled me to experience the different aspects of the industry and have given me the opportunity to show my strengths and understanding of the sport, delivering a high standard at every opportunity. My determination to succeed has seen my knowledge and skill base increase extensively. I have built a strong network of professional contacts, which have been developed both nationally and internationally. As a hardworking, confident, and driven person, I have built strong team relationships, which has proven I can deliver as an individual and as part of a team. Now, I was tempted to send him a message and see could he come on the show, but that would probably be a bit short notice for him. So we'll leave that off for the next time, Pete. But yeah, delighted to answer the question. Delighted he's chosen to come to Newcastle.
Great stuff. I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely buzzing to see that news pop up. It was a surprise, I think, to everybody. However, to get somebody with his track record, with his experience, and the word gets put around quite a lot for high level elite staff that come in, but best of class is what's been going around today, and he is absolutely that. When there were rumours of sporting directors being talked about, when the interview process came in, Dougie Freeman was obviously the one that they went for, but he was a great option and would have been really good at Newcastle United. Not taking anything away from him, but I think we'd mentioned even sort of in around the March, April time that if Paul Mitchell was available, he would be the one to go to, just because not just of his track record in the Premier League, but his vast experience around the European leagues. So not only has he got experience in the Bundesliga with the likes of Leipzig, doing the roles that he has, he's also been to Liga as well in France, and worked in there with AS Monaco, and that just makes him such a much more well-rounded person to come in and do the job. Because look, Newcastle United fans, we've talked about this recently. This talk of Eddie Howe only signing English-based players. Well, you've got now a sporting director that's not only well-honed on English talent, but also European talent too. And I thought this was quite an interesting point, and I made a note of it, so I'll come back to it in just a second. And it's from John. Paul Mitchell hasn't worked since 2023, October 2023, when he left AS Monaco. Just think what he's been looking for Newcastle. Can't wait for this. And this is it. This is it. With a role like that as sporting director, when you finish a role, you don't just kind of shut off from football. You just don't. Just like a manager, when they have time off, they still watch football, they observe, they watch players, various other things. So when they're ready to come back in, they're ready to come back in, ready to go. And that's the exciting thing. When Paul Mitchell comes in, steps foot in his first day at Newcastle United, whenever that will be very, very shortly, he will have a list of players to go, right, these are the ones I've been looking at, and let's get down to business. Let's start cooking. Let's start creating something big at Newcastle United. Now, he will have to work alongside Steve Nixon with that. But we know as Newcastle fans, Steve Nixon has got a decent track record, a very good track record actually, of identifying top players. So them two together, that then knits it quite nicely. And I think having those two in place is going to take the emphasis, I think, off Eddie Howe making he'll obviously make the ultimate decision, because he'll have to say, yeah, I want to work with that player. But having those two with such vast experience of knowledge of players, it just means we're opening ourselves to a completely different ballpark of player that can come and play for Newcastle United. So to see that come in is absolutely fantastic. But the question I've got for you, Daz, is that, the question is are we up? Are we up? Is Newcastle United up in this situation? And the reason why I say that is because obviously we had what happened last weekend with PSR. Of course, we then a couple of days after that, we released Dan Ashworth. Man United fans were very, very happy with that. But looking at this situation now, with the money that we've invested, nearly 70 million, not including the Dan Ashworth money, there's rumours of all sorts of prices about that, and we'll get down to that in just a second. So let's say 70 million recouped off the back of that, those players being sold, and then getting someone like Paul Mitchell in for free. Do you think Newcastle United are in a better position now than we were, say, a week ago?
You're asking me that. You know what? I'm going to turn that question back on you, Pete, because I was the optimistic one the last night, and two moany Mandys there, and yourself and Chris. No, okay, you had some justification as the sun starts to come out finally in Ireland. But because Ian asked the question back to you, he says, feeling a bit more optimistic now, Pete. You seemed a bit of a downer last time. I'll answer the question in a second, but I will put it back on you first.
110%. I am. I tweeted out earlier on today when this news broke. The narrative, I think, for Newcastle United, the narrative for us fans, the narrative for me around what's happening at Newcastle United this summer has completely changed, because we now have someone of an elite level in a position that was desperately needed by Newcastle United. And for me, I think we will see a reflection of that during this summer. I think we will get a Paul Mitchell stamp on the club based on who we sign this summer. But what I'm even more excited about is what's to come January, what's to come summer 2025. That's the exciting thing, because what we're going to see now is a journey with Paul Mitchell's stamp on it. He's got all of the players that he's been looking at, and he'll continue to do that under the remit of Newcastle United. But what we've got now is a platform to build from window to window to window. But in the absolute immediate, I am way more optimistic than I was before. Someone said it in the chat, and I absolutely agree. And I can't remember who put it. Let me see if I can just find it. To give them a shout out. So it was Claire G, and she said we needed some good news, and this is what we needed. We said this, to be fair, on the deadline, and when the deals went through, I think we did the show on Monday. We said what we need now is a reaction. We need a signing or someone coming in that's going to lift everything, and this is it. This is exactly what we needed.
That's coming as well. I as I said the last day, I expect something by the 15th of July. I actually think he's probably he could have been in place for a week or two already, a few weeks, and they just make the official announcement. It could be like they could have been taking their internal meetings of and this is just the actual announcement. It would make sense as well to get over the hurdle that they had first, and before announcing. But I think he's probably hitting the ground running now. And I know he's going to move up to Newcastle as well. That's what I read somewhere as well today. So, but yeah, I am definitely optimistic. I know we have at least 100 million to play with in this window if we want it, and then there could be sales on top of that that would boost that. And I think his speciality as well is bringing in players that are unknown to some degree, and young under 23 players that and then Eddie Howe developed them, and we've been starting to bring in a number of youth players already. Now this is the younger age groups. So adding to that, and also to his one of his other specialities was the kind of link between the youth teams and the first team. That progression is as well is what he's kind of known for on top of that. But so yeah, definitely positive for me. But I want to give a shout out as well to a few things that have come into the chat. And Tunarmi is at it again, giving away loaded ultra memberships. Thanks, and not one, not two, but three. Thank you,
wow.
Anne, for that. So I don't know who they landed on, but congratulations to whoever received them. Actually, I have an update on that will include Anne on the Euros and the Euro sweepstake later on. So I'll get to that later on in the show. Also, shout out to the man who was England, Shane Mawson. No off season for NUFC. You are right, Shane. And Luke, cheers for the super chat, Luke. He says Mitchell will be bringing the heavy hitters in straight away. Grant and Phil will be intimidating unsuspecting suits all over the show. Yes, we have to blend that in, that EastEnders did it, or whatever it is. I know that's the bill. Team tune, yeah. Whatever it is. I use
equally quality. Equally quality,
yes. Well, thanks, Luke.
Love it. So look, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this unfolds with Paul Mitchell. Like I say, looking at his wealth of experience, it's going to be really interesting how we see the structure kind of set up and how it comes together. I think we're going to get a flavour of that during this transfer window. But like I say, the excitement is where the growth and the journey is going to take place with Paul Mitchell. And a few people are saying, you know, what sort of players are going to come through the door? Well, as what's just been mentioned, it's going to be quality players that are ready to go. That, in my opinion, and you know, you look back to what you talked about, Daz, and some of those players. You know, Alderweireld, for example, had a great loan with him at Southampton, and then went to Tottenham and said, "Right, you're a quality player. You come over with us," and Tottenham took him for a nominal fee. You know, you got Son, got plucked out from I believe the Bundesliga. Look at what he's done there. Yeah, Leverkusen. Trippier, another one. Dele Alli, 5 million from MK Dons, and then his return, albeit he's had a drop off now, but those first 2 or 3 years were unbelievable from him. Nkunku, for example, Leipzig, outstanding talent. And then there's a potential of this man here, Youssouf Fofana, from Monaco. Now, I'm not sure whether his move has been nailed down yet, whether he is confirmed to move elsewhere, but he was definitely one on Newcastle's radar earlier on in the summer. He's got a direct link with him. Could that maybe sweeten the deal? The fact that he's now at Newcastle United, someone that he's worked with before, there's huge potential there, huge potential. And this is, these just a couple of players that Newcastle United could be looking at. There was another one as well. Someone mentioned, I think it was Daz in the chat. Hopefully, he could attract someone like Dani Olmo. Like, he's a talented player and he's doing some great stuff for Spain. Whether we could attract someone like that, I don't know. But again, you know, what's his remit? His contacts must be absolutely top level in terms of knowing how to kind of, you know, get these players through the door. And this is the key. Like, and Daz, you touched on this a second ago, but I'm just going to pop it up for people that are watching, just so they can see it live. So hopefully you can see that. But Daz talked us through a minute ago his journey, so you can see his journey right from MK Dons, Southampton, Tottenham, Leipzig, New York. There as a technical director, all the way through to Monaco, and now expected and is Newcastle United sporting director. But the key thing to that is that looking at the roles. So initially, head of youth scouting at MK Dons, then the chief scout, then the head scout at Southampton, then the head of youth scouting at Tottenham. Then you're going into sort of like technical directors at New York, technical directors at RB. Then you go into sporting director. So he's been through the lot. If you're looking for someone that has it all, he is the guy. He knows how to scout at youth level. He knows how to scout at first team men's level. Not just as well as that, he's been a technical director. Not just as well as that, he's been a sporting director. He's had all the roles that you would want of an experienced level sporting director, because he's had the experience of everybody. So he knows what to look for. He's had experience and huge success doing that. So he's got that know-how and those little links and those little things that could help people in their current roles at Newcastle United right now. And that's key. That is so important. I don't know if you want to touch on anything with regards to that, Daz, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up because I thought it was I thought when you were talking about
I agree. He's kind of come through the ranks and he's developed along the way. So he's experienced the different roles and kind of can in that way as well. He's going to be good to interacting with different people working at the club already. I know he didn't work with Darren Eales, but they know the same contacts as well from their time at Spurs, not together, but both at Spurs for a while. But I'm just going to also say as well that we've got over 700 people watching, and it's growing. But we are going to kill the Twitter stream pretty soon. But not because we don't want to lose you. We want you to come and join us and join the fun on YouTube. And while you're in there, we want you to like and subscribe as well. So we want to try and get as many of you that are on Twitter, or that's why we kill it, really, just so you will come join us on YouTube. So that will be ending in any second. So I'll give you a chance to get over though first.
But it's not all that. It's not everything with regards to Paul Mitchell. There's lots of other topics, should we say, to talk about, because the backroom staff may not be over, and there's a reason for that, because there were lots of noises last night, Daz, around certain individuals that may be available to come in and as part of our development. And it was this, and it actually came from the Chelsea side of things. Chelsea Youth had reported that Jim Fraser had left Chelsea, and his tag team partner, they've worked so close together for years now, Neil Bath, who is set to follow as Chelsea makes some massive radical changes, as they recall it, to their academy management structure. And again, that key word, Daz, the duo established a best-in-class operation with global renown and relentless success for more than 2 decades with regards to the young players that have been brought through at Chelsea. Now, really interesting. It got people talking with regards to this link. Now, it's interesting that this is happening because not so long ago, albeit a question mark about the paper, sorry, Chris, that reported this, but it said way back when, and I left the date on there. It was, way back in 2022 when this was published. Tune for targets, a Newcastle target Chelsea's transfer swoop in their academy boss, Neil Bath and Jim Fraser. So this is going way back, but a link that was kind of very much historical. But what's happened since is that we already know that this man, Jim Fraser, on the right-hand side of that picture, has already left. But now we've had confirmation, and Ben Jacobs, friend of the channel, has reported the same, that it has been confirmed. Neil Bath has stepped down as Director of Football Development and Operations at Chelsea. And he puts on his statement. I'm not going to read it out. It's there for people to see, saying about how his 30 years at the club and what he's done at the academy. He even gives a little bit of a shout out to like Jim Fraser within that, and talks about their partnership. Obviously, Jim Fraser, as I mentioned, has already left the club. Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph has also confirmed that he has left, and it's got tongues wagging, Daz. It's got tongues wagging. People watching in the chat about the links with Newcastle United. Could they be potentially coming in? So let's kind of look at Neil Bath in a bit more detail. Who is he? Well, as it says, he's the Director of Football Development and Operations. And this is just some of his work that he's done. So with that, he was a person that started in the academy setup at Chelsea, then transitioned through various different positions until he was the Director of Football Development, overseeing the under-21s program and the first team development loans, as part of his position. Very, very well known, respected and liked at Cobham, where all of the top young players have come through, and works closely with the head coaches, managers, and developments of the squad and youth team. So what we're seeing here is a person that oversees the style of play, the level of ability, and can see the pathway between youth into the first team. Question I've got for you, Daz, with regards to that. Now you know a little bit about Neil Bath, and obviously Jim Fraser and their partnership together. Are they positions that Newcastle United need to kind of build on? Would that be the right move to bring potentially one or even both of those in? Now we've got Paul Mitchell in sporting director position.
Bring the both in. Sure, they're more than welcome. And look at they've done great work for Chelsea in the past. And it's I saw the links as well during the day that how we were linked to them a few years ago as contacts to try and bring into the club, best in class and all that. But I would love to see it happen. Do I think it'll happen? I think it's also kind of suspicious that. And I'm not going to burst the bubble here, Pete, because I know people are speculating, but they're also speculating about Man United. Dan Ashford is after moving into Man United as well. Sir Jim is trying to get all his pieces on the board, and these other pieces that they'd like. We'd like them, but I'm sure they might like them as well. So is there going to be some kind of a battle there? And who will win out? I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up too much on this one just yet, unless I see good, strong links to them for us. But they'd be more than welcome.
Definitely. I've got to be honest. I think if one or both of Neil Bath or Jim Fraser come in, I think that might tell us a little bit about where Newcastle United are going with our academy and our youth development. And I kind of explain why. Obviously, over the last week or so, with everything going on with Yacube Minte and obviously with Elliot Anderson both leaving the club, there was a question mark about, what's going on at Newcastle United? Where's the pathway? Why are we selling off these players? Why are we not bringing them into the first team? And there was huge questions about that. And obviously we had to sell them to raise the funds. But if we're gonna bring in Neil Bath and or Jim Fraser, that would tell me that Newcastle United are not taking maybe a Man United model, but they're taking up more of a Chelsea model. Now, I don't know if you remember, Daz, we had this conversation way back when the takeover first happened, and we were looking at Emalalo is coming in as sporting director there. We knew his experience at Chelsea, and it was very much buying the best of the young youth players that are available and then loaning them out. Some will make it, some will get sold on. Chelsea will recoup money. And that's what I would see Newcastle United being as if one or both of those come in. And so that wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing. Sorry, that's what we were going to say.
No, sorry. No, I just thought of something as you were describing that. But that we've seen a taste of that already with Minta. You know that this buying some players in, and even I can't remember the guy's name, but is it the Serbian lad that we're due to buy as well? Defensive midfielder, 18, 19, and it looks like he's going to go out on loan straight away. And is this going to be our model going forward now? Bring them in. Either we're going to develop some and send them out, or send them out on loan, and then maybe if they do really well, maybe we look to cash in, and because we have to as well, we have to trade. We said it back, and I remember at the start we're saying we're going to have to trade, wheel and deal, but we've really got a taste of that now. In that week, in the last weekend. So yeah, you're right. If those two boys come in, it's going to be going down that road, are getting more heavily involved in that, as well as the first team, but a lot of trading. So these young players that do come in maybe don't get so attached to them, because they could be shipped out if it makes financial sense, or maybe even if they don't make it either. Maybe we're growing at a level, and they're not going to suit where we're going. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if something like that does materialize.
Definitely, and that's the thing. That's something that maybe we need to start getting used to, is not getting too attached to them. Like, look, there'll be some youth players that will come through and will be a success in the first team. Lewis Miley is an example of that. You know, I think if they really wanted to, they could have probably sold him, albeit he's injured now. But I think if they really wanted to, they could have potentially used him as the make weight. But they didn't. They used Minter instead, and Anderson. Now, there will be some others that make it through into the first team, but there will be some others that maybe not. They'll have a couple of successful loans and then they'll get sold off. Like Chelsea have had 10, 15 years of young players coming through, not quite making it into the first team, or getting a couple of appearances, getting a couple of loans, and then being sold off and making a profit. We're in a position where we need to do that. We need to raise funds. We need to make money in order to comply to this stupid PSR ruling. And so what better way to make that money by selling off one or two youth players for extortionate prices, to be able to help our finances out, to be able to sign then better players that can help our first team straight out. Nobody wanted Minter to go, but I think everybody now, having sat back and kind of reflected, realizes it was the right thing. It was the right thing to do. And maybe that's something that we do in the future. Now, we can see some of the top young scholars that have been brought in over the recent weeks or months ready for next season. So we're already looking at bringing some of the best of talent that's around, and we're actually cherry picking them from other clubs, where the likes of Man United, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Tottenham and various other clubs are looking at those same players. And that shows that we're going somewhere. It shows that we're building. It shows that Newcastle United is a place where young players see a vision for wanting to get into the first team, or certainly a vision where they can be successful in their careers. That's a positive. That was not the case before the takeover. So we've now started to really change that mindset of people outside of Newcastle. That's what we want. Now we need to continue to do that in the first team. So taking on that model wouldn't necessarily be the bad thing or the worst thing in the world. Having Neil Bath and Jim Fraser heading up that with a vast experience they've got would be the way to go. Now,
icing on the cake.
Absolutely. You could almost say, Daz, that structure's set. If those two came in, that structure's the management structure behind the scenes is pretty much complete if they were to come in and do the job. But there's one question. Obviously, someone mentioned about the fact that Steve Harper is kind of the head of youth development at Newcastle United at this moment in time. Would it be harsh maybe to remove him from that position in order to get best in class in? Or would you say?
Well, I know he went through medical more than a scare, a medical condition in this last season. I don't know what his own plans are. So I don't want to be saying get rid of Steve Harper, because I don't know what job he could complement what they do. Maybe they could dovetail somewhere. I don't know, or maybe he could take on another role. So I wouldn't be saying get rid of him. So because I can't judge it, to tell you the truth. But yeah, we have to be aiming for best in class across the board. And we also have to be ruthless. So I wouldn't be just holding down to things for sentimental value either, where we want to be the best. So we have to bring in the best people for the roles.
Definitely. Sometimes decisions like that need to be made. Obviously, of course, if he's obviously recovering, still not where he needs to be, it might be the best thing that we bring someone else in to take on that responsibility, and we still find a role within the club for him. I think he'll always have a role in some way, shape, or form at Newcastle United, and it maybe that might be the best thing if we've got an opportunity to bring some quality staff members in. A few people in the chat are reminding us that Man United are interested in him, and as you mentioned it in before, but the Man United are interested in Neil Bath and Jim Fraser. But hey, we've got Paul Mitchell. He was the number one for Man United and a lot of their fans. I'm not going to lie, I did have a little bit of a chuckle, and I don't think I have it right now.
When you're looking for that, I saw one or two Man United videos on published, and they did a really good job on the analysis, and they sold me on them. Unfortunately, for us, they didn't get to take him on board. So I know as kind of everyone saying now, oh, we got the better deal, and we did. We got the cash for Dan Ashworth, as well as getting Paul Mitchell in, who is coming in to do a different role than Dan Ashworth did. So bring it on. Let's get going.
Let's get going. That's it. Now, I think I found the picture that I wanted to put up. Hopefully, it will show. I'm not going to lie. This made me chuckle today when I saw this, and it's from Richie Sutherland. So he reminded Man United fan Connor. He said. This was a series of tweets. I haven't got all of them because it took me a while, because he literally did a little bit of a thread on all the tweets that this Connor Man United fan had put on there. But this is back in 2023 in November. Don't want United getting anyone but Paul Mitchell for sporting director position. We need the best in class in every department. What then went on after that is the reason why that was brought back up is because this Man United fan had basically said that Ashworth is clear of Paul Mitchell when we signed him this morning. So Richie and a few others have reminded Connor about this, and all the tweets. There was a whole thread of tweets from this one account absolutely saying no to everybody. I only want Paul Mitchell. I only want Paul Mitchell. Like literally a Paul Mitchell loving over a period of time. So Richie just reminded him of all of these tweets, and then unsurprisingly found himself blocked from the account, and the original tweet was deleted, should we say, which was funny. But I did message him, and I just said that was a sensational work this morning. I'm not going to lie, that was brilliant to see. And it's really, really interesting, Daz, how we get opposition fans that when something doesn't go our way, like with PSR, they're jumping on it and pointing and laughing, and then all of a sudden we hit back with the Paul Mitchell, and a lot of opposition fans turn around and go, "Oh, he ain't even that good," or Ashworth's better. We have had some respect today from a lot of people, including Mark Goldbridge as well, saying,
"Saw that, yeah."
It's a good signing. I don't think anybody can complain that Paul Mitchell is not a good signing. Everybody realizes how good he's been in the game, not just in England but across Europe. I'm excited. I'm so excited about this, because this could really start to knit the pieces together with what we're trying to build. Absolutely. Any questions you want to fire on before I talk about one or two players?
Yeah.
Potentially
Well, we're 45 minutes in, and I'm on 24 minutes in the comments. So that's how far behind. We're not having three of us. You can't. It's harder to get to the content in the chat. But yeah, there's plenty of questions. Where will I go first? Those ones. Asked the question about do you think he can I'll find the question in a second, but do you think he can start signing players for us now? Basically, I imagine he can. Well, there's nothing stopping him from getting to work straight away. Yeah, this is it from Nobby. Can he help us in this window? Yes, he can. What's your thoughts there, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. He's not attached to a club, Nobby, so he can start straight away. And you're right, Daz. Like you mentioned earlier, who's to say that he hasn't already kind of been working behind the scenes, and we're only just hearing the official announcement now, because effectively, Ashworth was on gardening leave. Mitchell wasn't attached to a club. He could have been working with the team for a while now, but I think it's key that we obviously got the free transfers in effectively in Lloyd Kelly, in Vlachodimos, have come through the door as signings. Obviously, the Lewis Hawley's already at the club and established anyway, but we've got the free signings through the door, and it doesn't surprise me that we've now got Paul Mitchell in charge as sporting director. I would not be surprised to see within the next week or two that there's a signing or two through the door. It's almost like they're probably waiting. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daz. It wouldn't surprise me if they were waiting for him to be officially through the door, for them to sit around the table and go, right, this is our summer plan. This is what we were looking at. Paul Mitchell can fill in some of the gaps with some maybe potential players that he's got, and then they finalize a decision and then just go, boom, let's go get him.
It wouldn't surprise me either. And look, we'll go to a question from this guy. If I said he was talking to his blue mates, you'd know who I'm talking about. It's Chris Hall. He says, do you think the appointment of Paul Mitchell changes our transfer plans, or do you think we'll stick to the plan before his appointment? I wonder how much immediate influence he has. So that's exactly what you kind of answered there, Pete. I wouldn't be surprised if they would have their own plans already, and they have been working on things in the background, but they bring him and lay it on top of that again, and then make decisions based on that. And I suppose price ranges and stuff like that. Sorry, Pete.
No, I was going to say, just to kind of add on with that, I think ultimately Paul Mitchell will add to what they've got. So they'll sit around the table, no doubt. Just my opinion, they'll sit around the table, they'll lay out the summer plan for Paul Mitchell and say, look, this is what we had planned. And Paul Mitchell will revise that plan. He will have a look through it and go, right, okay, this looks good. Let's go with this. However, in this area, whichever. So it could be, for example, right, centre-back options look great. Let's go with that. They're the kind of players we should be looking at. But he might say, right, okay, right wing, here's the pool of players that I've got that I think would be really useful to Newcastle United. What do you think about that? There might well be a conversation. What it does, it just adds to what we've already got. So all he'll do is essentially kind of like open up the pool of players potentially available to Newcastle United. So can only be a good thing. Can only be a good thing. And let's not forget, he's got contacts. So players that Newcastle United might have thought, maybe a little bit out of reach, he'll go, oh, no, but I know so-and-so, and let me have a word. Let me speak to, I used to work there. Let me have that.
You're wasting your time there. Yeah, because, they're not going there. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can shut things down as well if rather than just wasting time, if he has contacts with places. Chris Hall, make sure you like and subscribe. You definitely started this one. This is targeted at me. I know. Pete does. Do you think we'll go for KK? No, I think we'll go for the up and coming KK. that can play on the right. And hopefully that Paul Mitchell will be able to find him, and whether it's well, we need a right winger this season. So plenty of up and coming stars he will hopefully find for us. There's also one from Mike Palmer who's having a little dig at you. I think you started this because I didn't start. How tall is Pete?
Well, interesting you say that, because I was officially measured yesterday during an activity we were doing, and I'm officially 5'10". I am officially. It's no. It's
Congratulations, Pete.
Yes,
I'm buzzing. Put those platform shoes. Be at home now.
I've got maybe got a few years left in me where my bones might grow a little bit longer, so I may even reach 5'11". Who knows?
We'll see. You're not drinking as much brandy, so that could be something to do with it. Let me see. Kieran goes. He goes. Do you think Eddie Howe has had a say in the director of football or the sporting director recruitment? Definitely, he's had a say. It would be wrong if he didn't have a say. Joe, your thoughts there, Pete?
100% does. 100%. Eddie Howe would have to have signed that off, just like he would have had to have signed off, Ashworth. He would have had to have done that. What will be interesting, though, and this is the interesting thing for me, and this is not a negative at all. This is, just when we lost out with Dougie Freeman, Newcastle United had to go back to the drawing board, and it was documented. I think Luke Edwards talked about it today as well in one of the pieces that he wrote. That around the time where we were doing the interview process, I think we'd apparently spoken to Mitchell, but whether he wasn't quite ready to take on a role yet or not, I'm not quite sure. But we would have had to have reacted, and in order to get Paul Mitchell to come into the club, remember, we've had all this noise around Dan Ashworth not being able to have certain responsibilities, not being able to do certain things, blah, 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 blah. All of his kind of whining and moaning. Maybe have they given Paul Mitchell a little bit more responsibility? Have they given him a little bit more of the day-to-day running of certain elements of the club that maybe wasn't there for Ashworth? Is it that they trust him more? Are they, all these questions for me are really interesting, and none of these are negatives, because if that is the case, and Eddie Howe has maybe given him more responsibility, they've given him more roles and responsibilities from a day-to-day running of the club, then from a sporting director point of view, then that can only be a good thing. So maybe that was the kicker. Maybe that was the reason why we've been able to get him in, and maybe that's the reason why it's been signed off by Eddie Howe. So I'm intrigued to see how this kind of works, and I think this will all start to come out as the weeks sort of progress. We'll get a little bit of a flavour, and what I haven't seen it because I've been working all night, but I don't believe there's a video out yet from Paul Mitchell. I don't think he's done anything officially with the club. I think Dan Ashworth did something similar when he first signed. I'm really intrigued to watch that when it happens, because it will at some point, and how he kind of lies or lays out the kind of the plan for Newcastle United moving forward.
Cool. I'll go to a super chat, and then we'll lead back to that because there's more things to talk about. But FX Pro, he says, first Mitchell signing, go. I'm not going to give it a name. I'm going to say it's centre back. I think that the centre back is the one that will happen first. And it mightn't be okay. We can class it as his signing, but it might be that the homework was done already. It might be like a Steve Nixon kind of signing. Give him time. The most he could possibly be with us is a couple of weeks, because it was all on Dougie Freeman before that, and then I know there was a few names in the mix. I remember when we were talking with Ben Jacobs at the time, there was a few names in the mix then. But where you can give a name if you want, Pete, but position we think we sign.
I tell you what, let's do a little bit of a deep dive. Just go to one more question. I'm just gonna have a look at something, so we can have maybe a conversation, and we'll come back to that. If we keep that question, let's come back to that one, because I think that's a really interesting one.
I can find it again, but it was from FX Pro. But this one from Derek Sharp. It goes, do you think if Howe takes the England job, he's not taking the England job, we will get Poch. No. Eddie Howe is not leaving. And I know where you go with the Poch, the connection with Paul Mitchell at Southampton and then Spurs. But Derek, no. Eddie's not leaving. So until that day ever comes, we're not going to talk about that.
I'm doing a Daz.
Yeah,
It's not happening. It ain't happening. Yeah, there we go. Not happening. Yeah. No chance. No chance. Okay, Derek, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say this before we go into that question. Derek, England have got more chance appointing Poch than they have Eddie Howe. That's what
I thought you were going to say Potts.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll say that. Potts has got more chance of signing for England as a manager.
Right, this one is also not happening, and it comes from Chris. He says, will De Bruyne potentially leaving City, with De Bruyne potentially leaving City, do you think they will opt for Bruno as his replacement? No, that makes sense if you're a Man City fan. I don't think Bruno goes now, and if they were on that path, they would have bid for him for 100 million, rather than they'll know they're not going to get him for anything less than 100 million now. So they would have done the deal then. But I have De Bruyne is on a bit of a small bit of a decline, but he's still a world-class player. I know Edison is on his way, or looks like he's on his way to Saudi. That's the news I hear from City. But what's your thoughts on this question from Chris?
Great question, Chris. For me, it's quite simple. Kevin De Bruyne stays at Man City next season. I don't think he leaves. That's my honest opinion. I think he's got 1 year left on his contract. I genuinely think he'll see his last year out at Man City and then go to Saudi on a free transfer. I genuinely think that will be the case. That's just me. I think I think if he did leave, I think there'd be a genuine question mark about Bruno, but I still don't think it will happen, because I've had Man City fans. I had Martin from Mancunian Way. Nice guy, great guy. Obviously, he's very opinionated about various things, as you would expect. But one of the things that he's been adamant about is that Man City didn't want to pay the release clause, and that they will look to sign him at sort of 85, 90 million now. For me, and what I said back to him on the back of that is that Bruno Guimaraes is worth more than 100 million to Newcastle United. Just because other teams don't value him at that doesn't mean that we have to sell for less. Bruno Guimaraes to Newcastle United is worth so much more than 100 million, because it would take us, we talked about it before, Daz, it would take us more than that to replace him like for like with the same quality. So why should we just go, all right, yeah, go sell him? Like if it works out and Newcastle United have a great season next season, get Champions League football or whatever, and he decides, right, I've done my bit, 2 Champions League kind of like seasons, I'm gonna head off and I'm going to play for Man City. Man City win their case. Pep stays. De Bruyne leaves on a free. Fine, but you're still paying the 100 million.
Yeah. Well, LinkedIn, because we're on Bruno, let's go to this one. Good question here from Michael Palmer. He goes, Bruno playing his 67th game of the season at the weekend. Would you be tempted to give him a little extra time off this summer? Personally, I would tell him not to bother going to Japan. Now, there's probably Japan is probably expecting him, but I would agree. If we can give him a bit of a break, it would stand to us. Because he's playing in the Cup of America, and Gordon is going to have a bit of a break as well after the Euros, and Trippier, if he's still with us, and it's Trippier, not Gordon, but Yeah, what would you do there, Peter? What do you think will happen?
I think you've made a great point. I do think the interesting thing, I didn't realize the Copa America finishes the same time as the Euros.
Same day.
So, yeah, same day. So it's next Sunday, I believe, the
14th.
final of the tournament. So even though they started earlier, it finishes around the same time, and that's if Brazil get that far. For me, I think they'll give him maybe 2 or 3 weeks off. Whether he maybe doesn't fly out with the team, but then flies out from South America, maybe meets them out there. Maybe he goes back home for a little bit and meets them out there whilst they're on tour. It wouldn't quite be the same for Newcastle United if they're promoting and trying to make a name in Japan, but yet they've not got their ultimately or questionably their star man there. It probably doesn't have the same type of look, so they're going to want him there at some point. But you're right. I think he does need a rest. I think we are going to have to manage him very, very carefully because, he is a machine. He's an absolute machine, but machines do break sometimes. And that's what I worry about because he's so important to us. Like, if he was to get injured for a significant period of time, like it would be a huge loss. Maybe not as much as last season because we've got Sandro Tonali coming back, but you want them playing together. You don't want them swapping and replacing each other.
Yeah. We don't have the backup now of Miley either. Let's go to some of the other stuff, Pete, that you have on your list there. Actually, before you do, there's a super chat that's after coming in, so we'll go straight to that. Scott in Vegas. Pool day in Vegas, boy. Oh, you're not going to rub it in now. You're going to ruin it, Scott. You're going to rub it in. Drinks, sun, and loaded. Perfect afternoon. I can't believe it. We're live, and I can't believe New Zealand, America, and obviously Vegas is in America as well. But all the different places we're live. But enjoy it, Scott. Enjoy it.
That's class.
Cheers to the donation.
Like it's just so casual. Yeah, just a pool day, lads. Just a pool day. Drinking in the sun, bit of loading. Oh man. Oh, we need to come out and visit you. We need to come out and visit you, Scott, at some point.
Could happen. Loaded live in Vegas.
Loaded on tour. Loaded in Vegas.
We need a preseason game out there.
Brilliant stuff. Quality.
So where are we going next?
Okay, yeah. So just a couple of things just bubbling in there. Yeah, we're talking about who could be coming in, who's the target of a couple of players. This link is still not going away, but it's not a direct link to Newcastle United. But what do we make about this? Juventus are reportedly ready to sell Federico Chiesa for as little as 20 million euros plus bonuses. That's come from TV dello Sport. They really want him sold, and he's a quality player. Surely we've got to be all in on this. I'm going to ask you this, Daz. Would you make someone like Federico Chiesa either equal or your highest paid player to ensure he's signed for Newcastle United?
No, I wouldn't make him my highest paid player because you've got Bruno there and that you've got Isak who will be joining them shortly, and we have to watch what we do as well. So no, I wouldn't make it the highest paid player. I would bring him in, especially the 20 million now. That I did because I didn't see that today or whenever it came out. And I could see Eddie Howe breaking him along the way as well. But I'd take him for 20 million. Definitely. That's a bargain and a half. But I know you're going to have to pay high wages to get him, and you'll be at that price as well. You're competing against a lot of clubs there. What's wrong with them if they're selling them for that cheap as well?
He's refused to sign a new contract. That's the problem.
So that's why. Okay.
They're trying to make
cash out now when they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously he's been a year back after his ACL, so obviously ACLs are always a tricky one, particularly with medicals and various other things. So it's an interesting one. Like, someone of his ability, you're looking at 50, 60 million. You're looking, someone's put Pedro Neto in the chat is the person that they think we should go for. But you're looking at around 50, 60 million for Pedro Neto. Like, whether he's worth that is another thing. But you'd be looking at that for Federico Chiesa if he had more years on his contract. So for me, in that situation, do you pay the 20 million euros and the money that you would have invested in an additional fee? So if he was like that other 20 million or so, whatever it is, do you invest some of that into his wages and pay him a little bit more to ensure that you get him? Because you're effectively getting a 60 million pound player, but for half the price, or even less than half the price. So there's a question there.
Performance based to get him up to the higher levels is how I'd be negotiating that one, because I'd just be afraid that Eddie Howe and his training methods as well, it'll be intense for him. He's probably not used to that either. Could he break him? And I don't want to be left with an injured player on massive wages sitting out for a year or something either. It could happen anyway, but if I'm going into the higher wages bracket, I'd be basing it on appearances and things like that, just so that he gets we get the most out of him.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. One or two just put in the chat about the fact that he didn't have the best of Euros. Obviously, Italy went out. Yeah, that Italy team isn't great. And he had some games where he was good. He had some games where he wasn't really in it. But that, I don't put that down to him. I think in a Newcastle team, he'd get enough service where he would cause absolute havoc. And that's what you want. You want that type of quality coming in. Interestingly, as well as that, sticking with the winger situation, there has been a bit of an update with regards to Miggy. Says the situation with Miguel Almiron is that Newcastle are open to offers. Understand a fee of around 20 million, which is what we talked about, and Keith Downey mentioned that too. There has been an update from Radio Deportiva, which is a Portuguese account. Newcastle of England would be preparing the exit door for Miguel Almiron. A probable destination would be Al Ittihad of Saudi Arabia to make that move. Now, what's interesting about that is the previous AC Milan manager, Poli, has been appointed as manager in the last 24 hours or so. So now that deal is done, could that mean that a move for Miguel Almiron could well be signed off? There's still people in the chat, and I know Yano's in the chat, and he's still adamant that Miguel Almiron isn't leaving the club. Like, are you worried at any point, Daz? Are you thinking that he's going to stay, or are you still adamant that he's going to go? Because it's still up in the air. There's no concrete. There was rumors yesterday. There was concrete. Right, he's close to going, but then nothing's come of it since. Are you worried that something's not going to materialize?
No, I think Miggy's gone. There's no scenario for me that Miggy stays. I know he could refuse to go, but no, like, you can make a case for Wilson because we can't buy. It's more difficult to buy a striker, and how much you have to pay to bring in someone that's going to do the same role, and maybe you just hold on to him for another season. But not Miggy. Miggy was kind of basically told in January that you're gone, your days are numbered with us, and kind of they've given him the headroom to make it clear by not getting as many appearances then and for the remainder of the season. So it has to be clear to him now that if he wants to continue his career to a high level, and also get into his national team, into Paraguay's team, he's got to be playing. So he's got to move elsewhere, whether that be Saudi or somewhere else. It remains to be seen. But he's gone for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's time for him to go. I think he will leave the club. Be interesting to see what we get for him. It was rumored what Keith Downey was saying, and Ben Jacobs was mentioning around the sort of 20 million mark. Any way we can get any more for him? Do you think we'll get more, or do you think 20 is the ballpark figure?
Yeah, 20 seems to be the figure. Yes, you said the last show was 30 in January, and 20 seems to be the figure being talked about now. Like, as well as that, in that January, you're kind of he's still living off his previous season. So it you know, when you go through the Premier League signing off on the fee, it would have got through it that way, but with them not playing and not performing to the same level, yeah, he's like, that's kind of the price we bought him for, and he's a hell of a lot older now as well. So yeah, I think 20 million is all we'll see back, but we can invest it elsewhere. And building on top of that, the funds we already know that are there.
Definitely. And looking at the situation with Max Kilman, looks like that's coming to an end now. It's looking at West Ham have agreed a fee of around 40 million for Max Kilman. They've put numerous bids in. I think this is the third bid that West Ham have put in for Max Kilman. So we were never really like sold on getting him. It wasn't really anything solid. I think it was more about trying to kind of make money through Elliot Anderson than anything else. So that one looks like that's done and dusted, and I will delete that off the system. That one is gone. One that hasn't yet gone away and is still in the background bubbling is this one, Malik Tar, linked with AC Milan. There's rumours going into overdrive with regards to Italy. They're talking about sort of 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, 40 million bids that Newcastle are apparently in the process of coming in for. Do you see him now, Daz, as Newcastle's sort of first choice centre-back target, or is there anyone else out there that you think Newcastle will be looking at? Because it wasn't long ago that it was Tomori, also at AC Milan, that was kind of the one that was being talked about. Is this flavour of the month, or do you think there's genuine interest in Malik Tar?
I say there's genuine interest. He's also flavour of the month, but so yeah, he'd be the one I would be. I wouldn't be surprised if to hear something more developing on that as the days go on. But equally, I wouldn't be surprised now that Paul Mitchell is in place, that it gives people the opportunity to be creative and look back at other contacts he has, people he's worked with, players he's worked with in the past, and put two and two together and come up with some new names as well. So expect some more new names popping up on the horizon pretty soon, I think. Whether they're accurate and true or not, who knows? But yeah, I'd love, at this stage, I'd love to see him coming in. You know, my favorite, one of my favorites as well is Osman Diomande, but I'd say he's going to be too expensive. And I think it was a good point. I don't know whether you said it on the show, Peter, or was it off air, with that, like in that Portuguese league, there's only three teams: Benfica, Porto, and Sporting Lisbon. There are more teams, but not to the same high quality. So I think we're talking about Gyökeres. That's who why we're talking about that. And so yeah, he at least he's played in the Champions League. He's in a Serie A. He's came from Germany, I think, as well. So yeah, he's a good pedigree. And he's young, great age. So he'd be one I'd like to see arriving. But who knows? It could be the goalpost could be shifted now. So we'll let us see how it all plays out pretty soon.
Definitely, absolutely. Going to be an interesting one to see how that materializes. All gone quiet on Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yay!
Yeah, happy cheers from Daz there, as well as myself. There's that seems to have gone really quiet. Whether that materializes, I think that will highly be dependent on Callum Wilson and his situation. Be interesting to see if Callum Wilson comes back for pre-season, as with the likes of Miggy, or they'll get longer. because of the Copa America. But yeah, with Wilson not going up to the Euros, be interesting to see if he turns up on day one. That might be a big teller if he doesn't show. Maybe it's telling us that something may be happening or bubbling in the background. Another one, Kieran Trippier. Rumours of, there's a couple of reports yesterday and the day before that Kieran Trippier's house is up for sale. He could well be moving out. That, for the first time, that looks like that could be a dead cert that Kieran Trippier does move on this summer. But my question to you, Daz, is that if Trippier does move on this summer, is Tino Livramento, well, not Tino Livramento, but is Tino Livramento's backup in Emil Kraft, is that enough to tackle a full season in the Premier League?
But you're forgetting the other one, and Chris hasn't. He says, where do you lads think Carson Ashby will fit in this season? And that could be where. So Tino for me, regardless of Kieran Trippier stays or goes, Tino is my number one right back. And I don't want to see Trippier on the left either. Oh, as a backup, as an alternative, yeah, fair enough if other players are in it. But we've got Hall, Kelly, Byrne, who can all fit in there. And we've got Target as well. If hopefully we can offload Target at some point. And his wages. But yeah, Tino's the man. And it would be maybe Harrison Ashby, maybe he's one of those as well. That is he got game time last year, Swansea. Maybe he's one we would move on if needs be as well. Maybe he's been that kind of a signing for us, or maybe I know you said Kraft. Kraft can obviously play as a right back and can fit in at right centre back. But I'd say the way it's looking at the moment, it's if we sell trips, it's Tino, Kraft, and Ashby are right-sided right backs, right defenders.
I don't think Ashby's going to make it. I think Ashby will probably get another loan. I don't think he's going to come in to the squad. I can't see it. The question mark is Kraft a good enough kind of like filler in that position, or do we get either an experienced head or someone that's young, that's got like similar potential to Tino to maybe come in? I don't know.
The only thing, Pete, is that ideally, yeah, we would, but we can't change everyone, and we also need to keep some experience in the team as well, because Kraft does have international experience as well. So we are, if we're getting rid of, on top of who we already got rid of, if we end up getting rid of Wilson and Trips and Miggy, even our experience, our average age is going down, but our experience is going as well. So we do need to keep some old heads in there as well, just needs to be done. It's all part of it, and it can't change everyone all at once. And if PSR won't allow us, if we wanted to.
No, that's true. Right, I've remembered something. You had a question that we talked about before about players and who we are likely to bring in sort of first. Well, what I wanted to do is just go through like the last couple of clubs that Paul Mitchell was sort of attached to. So we've got RB Leipzig here. We've got some players here now. Obviously, there's some players that will of course, be untouchable. But
can you do me a favor, Pete? Can you do Control Plus on your keypad? That's how. I'm sure it's the same on the Mac. So
Control Plus, I've done it.
Yeah. Okay. This doesn't make the screen bigger. Okay.
No, it didn't work.
The font bigger. No. Okay. Doesn't matter.
Well, we'll work on it, and we'll sort it after the show. I don't know how small it is. Readable, but it is a little bit smaller on there. So you got We got a number of players there. I'm going to highlight this man here, Mohamed Simikan at centre back. Can play right or centre back. Talented player. 24 years old. There. Just going back. I mean, left back we don't need him now, but David Raum I think is a talented player as well. I'm just looking through the players. Is there anyone that kind of stands out that you would want to take? I know someone mentioned it before. It might be Chris or somebody else.
Chris mentioned it in our chat about Dani Olmo about his playing for Spain, and also Daz has mentioned it here in the chat, and there's another one as well about Dani Olmo.
Again, talented player, very, very talented. I didn't realize they still had him. Mariba.
Here, Pete, you got Command Plus on Mac.
Command Plus.
C of D Plus.
Command Plus. What's happened there? Is it bigger?
No.
Is it not changed at all?
No, carry on. We'll fix it after the show for the next time.
Right, because on my, did it get big? Did it move at all?
No.
Okay, because it got bigger for me. We became.
We've got more. Welcome to Apple. And Ali goes Command F. Try Command F.
Command and F.
Who is right?
Command F. I'm trying it. No, it comes up with a writing thing at the top right-hand corner. To be fair, Command Plus, it did work, but not for you on the screen. It made it bigger for me.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. We'll go for next time. One from Michael Palmer says, "My wife assures me that size is not important." There you go. So you're asking who would you take from this list? Is it?
Yeah, we're just looking through it. Openda, Sesko, although he's staying. Andre Silva, although I believe is he moving on.
So one of these players, these are players that
this is just RB Leipzig. This is the team that he was at, that he was sort of technical director at previously, and so. Is there any players that he would have worked with previously that he can go back to maybe have links with, someone he's got connections to that could potentially pick up a player, one or two? So you got RB Leipzig there, and then you have another in AS Monaco. Don't know if you can see that. A player that we're familiar with, Mohamed Salisu, formerly of Southampton.
Yeah.
And they got relegated. There's a couple here as we go down. Just look at the centre backs here, left backs. This is obviously more of a detail. So we got right back here, Vanderson, 23. He's a talented player. Him.
Yeah, they were talking about him today. Actually, yeah.
Dennis Zakaria, formerly of Chelsea. Yusuf Fofana, we talked about before. Could he potentially coming in with Anderson going? Is he a player that we could maybe bring in? They were talking about because his contract's out in 2025, June 2025. Could he be going for as cheap as sort of 15 to 20 million? Would be like a great fee for French sort of international. Is there anyone else on this list that anyone would take? I'm just looking.
People are still giving you suggestions, Pete. Hold
on, I can't see the screen. I'm rubbing it. No better.
That's not what they're talking about, Pete. Move on.
No better. This player here, Breel Embolo. Swiss, we'll be seeing him. His England fans will be seeing him at the weekend. He's come back from a serious injury and explosive, big, tall, explosive striker. He's got a couple of years left on his contract. 27. But look, there, obviously, the transfer fees are not always or the values are not always real. But 12 million, could he be a potential as a Isak backup? Maybe, don't know.
On that list there, a guy I used to sign as an aside on an older version of Football Manager. That guy, the Myron, that guy. I used to sign him. He's dropped down the pecking order. I think he's only worth 5 million now. I haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah, one of those that you get really young and like has huge potential, just gets better and better. Could well be. Never know. We've got Mohamed Kamara. So look, that's just an example of just looking through just a couple of teams. Is there anyone from his previous club that Paul Mitchell can maybe go back and pluck out? I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
It's interesting. It is interesting. Right, maybe we'll take a few. You get to laugh at all the comments now. A few questions and comments. A new member, Daniel Brown, welcome and thanks for becoming a loaded ultra, Daniel. Now, actually, I'll do this now because I forget. So, Daniel, you have missed out on the sweepstake, but the sweepstake is ongoing for the Euros. And just to give people an update, this was our idea for a sweepstake. So, and there'll be a prize or two out of this at the end of the Euros. These were the allocations of who got drawn out of the wheel for teams and who they were going to assign to, and this is where we are now. So we're down to the last 8. So we've got 9 who has Spain against Anne Tunarmi, who has Germany. Yes, that's Anne, who's always giving away for free memberships to people. Also, and 9 is in the chat as well. Then we've got Tampatoon, who is Portugal against France of Dave Bullman, who's in the chat as well at the moment. I saw earlier. Stu Amos, I think you'll be in the chat, not 100% Stu, but when we messaged you over at the last time we were in Newcastle against Skaberlax, so that is the Dutch, the Netherlands versus Turkey, and Shane Mawson, who's in the chat as well, with his beloved England versus Dave Cook, who's going to catch this on playback. So, and I'm sure David is surprised that the Swiss have got this far. So, that's our last 8. So best of luck to everyone as we get into the quarterfinals from tomorrow on. So best of luck at that. But let's go back to the questions. The client says we need to sign a new Loaded Mag technical director. I agree with you 100% there, client. For the max. Yeah, I have 2 of them that will join nicely together later. Luke goes, what do you make of the move for the young Irish at Blackburn and our supposed link? Do you think this has Mitchell's fingerprints on it? And it's Rory Finnegan. He goes, I think he's called. Yeah, yes, that seems to be getting close from what I've seen as well over the last day or two. So we'll see if that one goes through. This one, Peter, I know we talked about this today as well. When is Botman due back? He's back in grass, isn't he? He's back in grass and doing a small bit of jogging on grass. But great to see him. And what are you thinking now? Are you thinking earlier than the start of 2025, Pete?
Yeah, well, it looks that way. I mean, we're in early July, and it's very tentative. He's doing like small movements with the ball at his feet already, which is great to see. He's building up his movements and obviously the resistance in his knee, but that's great to see him. And if he's already doing that in July, if he's doing that sort of day-to-day building, who's to say that, October, November, potentially, we could see a return. There's no, hopefully Newcastle United are flying, and there's no need to kind of, push him back into things. But wouldn't it be great to be potentially going into a really busy sort of domestic fixture around Christmas time, and having Sven Botman available? That would be brilliant.
I'll go with this one from FX Pro because I think things have changed a bit today when I saw. But he goes, question: with Elise still not signed at Bayern. Could Mitchell persuade him to come to us now? I think it's got closer. I think now on that front in terms of Elise to Bayern. I think it could have been Fabrizio. I'm not sure who it was I saw, but I saw some pictures and comments on that today. So I think that one has sailed. FX Pro. It's a pity, but
yeah, seems like there's a medical happening, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, plenty more of the players out there. We move on. Simple as.
Mark Shafto says Rule Walters and Kozar Dubry, who we talked about before, left Arsenal. So I think it'd be I think it'd be amazed if we didn't sign one, if not both of those two. So I think Kozar Dubry was the one we talked about before. So you never know if we can snap one or both of them up. I don't know anything about the first guy though.
New name to me. I'm not aware of him. But yeah, Amari Kozar Dubry. Yeah, seen bits of him. Looks a proper talent. That would be a really sort of exciting young signing. We said it before earlier on in the show. Some of the young talent that we're signing now, and we're plucking out and beating other clubs for their signatures, just shows where we're moving as a club to sign the sort of young attacking talent. And all this kind of they won't want to move from London, they don't want to move up north, load of rubbish. Look at how many players we've signed from different pockets of the country, and they all want to move to Newcastle. Rubbish.
Kieran asked the question, do you think Mitchell would have approved the sales of Anderson and Minta? I'd say no one really had much choice in it in the end, because we needed to get cash in to on the PSR deadline day. But I don't know. I'm not sure you have too much input on that one though.
Yeah, as you said, those deals had to happen. Be interesting though to see, have we, how much money we've got to spend. I think it was in a piece today. Actually, I think it might have been Luke Edwards that mentioned.
Yeah, 100 million.
We've got in excess of 100 million. I think.
Because I think it was said that like we took with dropping that year on the 3-year rolling cycle, we lost 70 million plus loss from that. So, and we had that particular transfer window, we had spent over 100 million. Okay, so let's say that 70 plus million coupled with the Champions League money, the Adidas money, blah blah blah, that takes us at least to around 100 million. Okay, ballpark figures here thrown about, and then with sales on top of that again that we've yet to make, then that boosts us out more. So doesn't mean that we're going to spend it all in summer. It could be spread over January, but over the course of the season, why not spend it as well? Because we don't really have to worry about balancing the books in real terms. We have to worry about balancing the books in PSR terms, but not with the owners we have. So that's why I think it's up around those kind of figures. Shama is saying he's looking for that glass. Is that the same glass you were looking at in the club shop when we were over last?
No, I think it was a different glass because that was like more of a beer glass, I think. But Shimmer put on socials the other day, I think it was yesterday, like a brandy type glass with the Newcastle logo on it, and I was like, I need that. But he's searching for one for me. If you find it, I'll make sure. I purchased that, but no, thank you for looking out for me. But he's got an absolute blinder there, so absolutely spot on.
Want to give a quick shout out as well to our sponsors. First of all, I want to give a shout out to these guys, the Radiator Shed. Yes, the Radiator Shed. And you contact Russ, mention Loaded20, and you will get 20% off radiators. Contact Russ at russ@theradiatorshed.com or telephone 077 666 0413. So that is the radiator shade. I'm going to go to this question and link in something as well, because Michael Palmer says, with this hot weather, it's important to keep yourself trimmed, moisturized, and fresh down there. Any ideas on where I can find products for that? Well, we do actually, Michael. And we'll scroll it across the bottom of the screen as well, where you can find it. But I think what you're really looking for is they have it here somewhere. You're looking for the is it this one? Yes, the Lawnmower 5.0. That's what you're looking for from Michael. So that will sort you out. And as Claire says, with love, more Brazilians, Foxy. No comment. No further comment there, Claire. But nice. The link in nicely together. Those comments. Let's see. Back to where we were. We'll go for one more question, Peter, if I can find one. Sorry, Craig, there are no loaded mag mugs. We've yet to go down that route again of March, but we will at some stage. I know he's asked it a number of times now, so we'll have to produce a mug and we'll go down that way. Yeah, let's go for this one. I want to say, because I see one name here. Incy asks about, would you be happy to get Rafinha and Gibbs White? Wow. If it meant we would go season with Pope as our starting keeper. Personally, I worry about having to rely on our number 2 keeper. I can't see us getting both Rafinha and Gibbs White.
Rafinha on the right, Gibbs White on the right-hand side of a midfield 3. Yeah. It'd have to be fighting with Sandro Tonali for that, but strength in numbers. He can play out on the right hand side as well, playing the number 10 role. Yeah, why not? To be fair, Morgan Gibbs White could play on the left hand side or the right hand side, but it would certainly add competition to that midfield. And with Elliot Anderson gone, there is a space there to be filled. And obviously, Lewis Miley's out for 12 weeks. Unfortunately, he got his metatarsal injury, but yeah, it's not out the realms of possibility. Like we just talked about, Luke Edwards has said we could potentially spend in excess of 100 million. I think we spent 130 last season. But if we're looking at 2 quality players, yeah, why not? And then a centre back to add to that. I think we're good. And let's not forget, that's without selling Miggy. That's without selling Wilson. That's without selling Target or Jamal Lewis or Ryan Fraser, for example. There's 5 players that we could potentially sign. That's without that. We could spend in excess of 100 million. With those players gone, that significantly increases our expenditure even more so, depending on how much they go for. So not out of the realms of possibility that we could afford those 2 players. But again, it depends on what Eddie Howe, Steve Nixon, and more importantly, Paul Mitchell wants. Go on.
That is it on terms of the questions. I think there's loads I missed. Don't start, Tom. Don't start on that one. We're not going back there. Right. That is it. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribe and tell other people about us as well, and get them to come and subscribe for us. Chris will be back hopefully the next night as well. We'll tell him you were asking for him. Thanks for listening. We will be back again soon, hopefully with some breaking news. You never know. How'd you like that? Good night.
How you like